This week on Dateline Abuja, we celebrate the working man and woman. You are a hero. If you wake up every morning and do an honest day's job for a pay slip, you are a hero. Keeping your head up in the face of daunting challenges, paying bills, taxes, raising kids, and somehow still being a productive member of society. A patriot, an honest, hardworking individual in Nigeria. You are a hero. We look at the remuneration for our nation's heroes in our focus on the FCT, and the Nigeria Labour Congress joins us for our conversation on the plight of the Nigerian worker and what living wage will be fair in these times. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's begin with the major stories that occurred this week in Nigeria's presidency.
As the world marks the 2025 World Workers' Day, President Bola Tinubu has promised that his administration has and will continue to prioritize workers' welfare. In a message he sent out on his personal handle on the social media platform X, the president hailed the contribution of Nigerian workers to the nation's growth. The Nigerian government and the European Union are looking to deepen collaboration in the areas of green economy, renewable energy, agriculture and health, among others. This was disclosed during a meeting between Vice President Kashim Shettima and the head of the EU delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS at the presidential villa, Abuja.
On behalf of my boss, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I want to thank you for the wonderful burgeoning relationship between the EU and the Nigerian nation. Feel at home. We are essentially one people tied to a common destiny. A relationship that started in the 1440s with the Portuguese. It's not something that you can wish away overnight, but to build on that relationship. More than ever before, Nigeria is ready for business.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says President Bola Tinubu's government is making strategic investments in human capital development and economic reforms to position Nigeria as a leading force on the African continent. He stated this when he met with a delegation from Berlin's Hertie School of Governance at the presidential villa, Abuja.
And I want to assure you that the current crop of leadership in Nigeria under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is ready, willing to unleash the full potentials of the Nigerian nation on the African continent. Skills are very important. And with our HCD 2.0, we are in a position to unleash the full potentials of the Nigerian people by enhancing their capital skills.
President Bola Tinubu has approved the composition of an oversight committee to organize Nigeria's hosting of the 4th African Union Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Forum, scheduled to hold in Nigeria in June this year. The committee is chaired by the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Office of the Vice President, Senator Ibrahim Adeja, and has the Senior Advisor to the President on Job Creation and MSMEs, Mr. Temitola Adekunle Johnson, as host country coordinator and secretary. Speaking after the inauguration of the committee held behind closed doors, Mr. Adekunle Johnson says the forum was initiated by the African Union Commission to, among other things, bolster regional trade.
We'll be having SMEs close to about 6,000 SMEs from all African countries, and about 145 different partners all over the world coming to Nigeria to sort of explore how to help SMEs within the country and the continent in general. SMEs across the country will be leveraging, and they will be meeting, they will be interacting with their fellow SMEs all around Africa. And it will also avail them opportunities to unlock potentials and possibilities of other things that they could benefit, both in Nigeria, in the continent, and the world at large.
Welcome back. We kick off our tributes to the Nigerian worker with the May Day celebrations at the nation's capital this year. Organized labor in Nigeria is demanding an upward review of the retirement age of all public and civil servants from 60 years to 65 years and from 35 years to 40 years, respectively. The demands were put forward by both the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the president of the Trade Union Congress, Comrades Joe Ajero and Festus Usifo, during the May Day celebrations, which was held at the Eagle Square in Abuja. Meanwhile, following months of negotiations, on July the 29th, 2024, President Tinubu signed the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira into law. That piece of legislation helped to lay to rest the many agitations and protests by unions. It, however, did not completely eliminate workers' agitations in the workplace, though as attention gradually started shifting to implementation, which, as you will see in this report, has not been adhered to by at least 7 states in Nigeria. Workers from across the Federal Capital Territory, in different attires, stream into the Eagle Square in Abuja to celebrate May Day and amplify their demands for better working conditions and rights. The leaders of the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress sound the alarm over the precarious welfare of workers as cost of living soars.
We suggest once again that government should deliberately put more money into the hands of workers who drive the economy, who drive the local economy, support local industries, and recover and expand, end the statistical gerrymandering, rebasing inflation, unemployment, and GDP figures does not feed the people and build a real economy that can survive the dignity of jobs and hope. When the economy is doing well, workers and citizens do not need any government spokesperson to tell us. We can feel it in our pockets, our tables, and on our lives.
Stop the compression of civic space. Number 2, implement minimum wage that reflect current realities. Number 3, withdraw exploitative tax bill. Number 4, reduce telecom tariffs as agreed from 50 to 35%. Number 5, reverse electricity privatization. Number 6, end impunity, killings, and insecurity. Number 7, pay all outstanding allowances and pension. Number 8, expand retirement benefit and adjust pension to inflation. Number 9, protect union rights and halt indiscriminate union registration.
However, President Bola Tinubu, represented here by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Mr. Muhammadu Dingyadi, says his government is committed to providing an enabling environment for the workers to thrive.
On our part, as a government, we will continue to strengthen labour protections, improving job security, and ensuring fair treatment for all workers in line with international best practices, and at the same time addressing issues of unemployment, which remains a significant concern. These we shall endeavour to pursue vigorously, noting that our workplace dynamics are evolving faster than ever before, recognizing the emerging challenges such as technological advancements, environmental hazards, shifts in work patterns, and mental health concerns.
With the speeches over, the March Past parade kicks off. Some workers speak about their expectations.
Unity is our strength, and we will continue to embrace one another. We'll continue to do everything possible to be accountable. We'll continue to also promote ethical journalism. And when we're going to be accountable, it's not just about the people we report, but within our ranks.
The mood of Nigerian workers is that
the money they are giving us cannot take us home. So we want also to continue to plead that something has to be done about the so-called minimum wage because it cannot take anybody home.
Earlier, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a statement he sent out on his personal handle on the social media platform X, hailed the contribution of Nigerian workers to the nation's growth. It reads, quote, "To every Nigerian worker, happy Workers' Day. You are the engine of our economy and the secret to our nation's growth. Our administration has and will continue to prioritize workers' welfare. Together we will make Nigeria great again. Here's to everyone, young and old, entrepreneur or employee, private or government employed, whose meaningful contributions help in no small way to the development of our homes, communities, and our dear nation. Happy Workers' Day, Nigeria." End of quote. It has been almost a year since the new minimum wage came into force in July last year. Most of the negotiations happened behind closed doors, with participants often keeping straight faces as they leave the venue. On the final day of those negotiations, Labour recommended a 250,000 naira minimum wage, as against the government's offer of 62,000 naira, which was later passed by the National Assembly.
Third reading taken and passed.
The icing on the cake was the signing of a 70,000 naira minimum wage by President Bola Tinubu on July the 29th, 2024. Notwithstanding the president's assent, the troubles were not over as the attention of workers shifted to implementation. On December 1st, 2024, 4 months after the new minimum wage was signed, the Nigeria Labour Congress directed its members to proceed on a nationwide strike. Organized labor continued to mount pressure on the government, especially in states that are yet to implement the new wage law.
What some states said they have implemented is not a minimum wage at all, because they came out with a table that is not even properly graduated. So most of the states have not implemented. There are very few states we can give kudos to in this aspect, and they know themselves. But we are calling on all the state government that after this day, if they are not able to minimize, because NSA have called on all the states to come out with the lists or come out with the states that are not implementing.
We still have some states where local government workers are still not enjoying the minimum wage. States like Borno State, Gombe State, Yobe State, FCT, they are still yet to start implementation of this minimum wage.
According to available records by the Nigeria Labour Congress, there are at least 7 states that are yet to implement the new minimum wage. The states include Zamfara, Sokoto, Osun, Cross River, Imo, and Plateau states. 29 states so far have implemented the new wage law, with some paying above 70,000 naira. However, workers say the current inflation rate has eroded the value of the new wage.
The devil in the economy is the foreign exchange, because if you check with the international market, nothing has changed absolutely. The minimum wage as it is today cannot sadly buy a bag of rice. So what happens to the worker? What happens to his transportation? What happens to his housing? What happens to his health care? What happens to what he will eat and that of his family?
What was signed last year as minimum wage has been completely eroded with inflation and the high cost of living. So it's nothing really to celebrate when you talk about minimum wage. It's what do we do? What will the state do to ensure that the standard of living of Nigeria workers is improved?
As workers in Nigeria celebrate the 2025 Workers' Day, many hope that the new minimum wage bill will be fully implemented by all employers of labor, and that the government will work to stabilize the naira so as to protect the value of the new wage. My guest on the program is Comrade Uche Ekwe, the head of international relations for the Nigeria Labour Congress and the liaison officer for the National Assembly. Honorable Uche Ekwe, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much.
Happy Workers' Day.
Thank you, same to you.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the demands or issues, lingering issues. We'll start with the states that have not even implemented the 70,000 first. The advocacy from the Nigeria Labour Congress to get that done immediately. How far has that advocacy gone?
Yeah, it has been on even before the May Day. We are getting the states ready, mobilizing them, and we are going to visit those states in our own way.
And what does that mean? Are you going to protest in those places?
Of course.
Well, you have to have meetings first, not so?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those processes are on. We'll do that. Because they can't continue going on like that. They can't. It doesn't make sense. As a matter of fact, is abuse of the democratic process. And that's part of when you see our team for the May Day, we talked about reclaiming the civic space. The civic space is the democratic space where freedom of expression, obedience to the laws are advocated and done. The minimum wage is a law.
Indeed it is.
Yes. And how can somebody who swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic disobey the law of the Federal Republic?
Are there repercussions?
It is not done.
Are there repercussions legally for someone breaking the law? Because every governor who's not paying the minimum wage is breaking the law.
Yes.
Are there repercussions for that
Apart
behavior?
from repercussion, first of all, the law provided a punishment.
Okay, which is?
After some days, there are fines you pay on top. They removed the law, the repercussion. The primary law, if that civic space is properly occupied, is that the governor is disobeying the law of the land. First, starting from the point one, which doesn't exist anymore, moral question of taking an oath to uphold the law of the land and violating it.
A lot of the people that like the report that just played before this interview, a lot of people are saying, well, even the 70,000 doesn't do anything with our current economic situation.
So. You know, I made the addresses there. Who said so?
So what happens next? Now that you've complained, then what?
You see, the issue is, that's where we talk about reclaiming the public space. You hear the arguments. I'm sure you would have followed during the debate. People felt, we're unrealistic.
Where would the money come from?
Yes. But when we broke it down, even the government people on the table couldn't say we're unrealistic. They couldn't say so. Because we didn't just write that figure. That figure came from, this is the cost of electricity in the house. We used a family of 6, basically. A man, the wife, and 4 children. And try to break it down. What do they spend in water, or what do we expect them to spend in transport, and all those, without going into school fees. We came to those. And people realize that the figures we put, it's not even realistic to deal with those matters. They are not. But now, people came, even the public, you people are asking what is impossible. Where would this money come from? How can it happen? We said, no problem. But let us agree first that this is what should have been a take-home pay. It was clear with the continuous devaluation of the currency. It was obvious. And we knew it, that the issue of removal of fuel subsidy will put the pressure on the economy. It was obvious.
My question to Labour has always been, you didn't want them to remove fuel subsidy?
We never pretended about our position on the fuel subsidy.
You wanted the subsidy to remain?
No, we say if you are going to remove the fuel subsidy in the so-called deregulation, that it has to be driven by local production. What would that resolve? If it is driven by local production, the pressure on forex will not be there. But if it's driven by importation, we're into a vicious circle. Because each round, you buy up forex to import, means that the moment it comes in the next round, by the time they are going for forex, the forex would have gone up. So it will remain a vicious circle.
People are asking for the retirement age to be increased to 65. What are your thoughts on that?
Ordinarily speaking, in other parlance, people were even pushing to reduce. It's even in the interest of the company. It's because people just see it that they are being paid money. Take, for example, right now, before somebody graduates, finds work, it's almost eating 40. Society should study their reality. Why did the government finally, even the state government, easily succumb to 65 years of teaching age? You groom somebody, develop somebody, at the peak, the person pulls back the experience. You pull the person out. How can a society work? Because it's just seen as paying people money.
Let's talk to the working man right now, because we started our program today by saying that the working man in Nigeria is the hero of this story. The one that wakes up, puts on his face cap or his suit or her wig, gets up and actually works in this economy for a pay slip that you use to take care of your family. You are the hero of the story, because a life of crime is easy. So for the Nigerian right now who's wondering, looking at their children, looking at everything around them and wondering, how are we still going to be here in 10 years? What does the NLC have to say to that person right now?
Yeah, first is that we must be courageous. We can't give up hope. Yes, the situation looks hopeless, but we can't give up hope. We must give our loins to engage. May they come to be. Because working hours was between 16 to 24 hours even. Workers started challenging it, canvassing for 8 working hours. And the leaders, 12 leaders of that struggle were killed publicly in Haymarket Square in Chicago in 1886 on 1st May. And the idea was to weaken, frustrate, intimidate the demand. But like one of the leaders said before he was hung, that you think that by hanging us today, you stamp out the labor movement and the struggle. But I want to tell you, you are stepping on a subterranean fire. This fire you cannot put out. The Nigerian workers should get this law to fight, because we are not going to get any of this demand by pleading or feeling good or becoming political or being cowed or start feeling ethnic and religious sentiment that is played up by leaders to defend themselves, not because they believe in it.
Comrade, I want to thank you very much for being with us on Dateline Abuja. Thanks for your insights and all the work that you do. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. I leave you with this quote from Professor Wole Soyinka. No one is rich enough to buy yesterday, but if you hustle hard, tomorrow could be yours. So put a smile on, keep your head up, remain honest, and make the world better than you met it. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screens. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa. See you next time.